A ver, yo no.
You know.
Yo no. You understood that one. Yo no. La verdad es que creo que también en cuanto a presión, siento que para Eddie fue muy distinto porque él ha interpretado al Chacal. Yo estoy interpretando un personaje que ni siquiera existía en las versiones anteriores. Es un nuevo giro que se le da a este nuevo Chacal, que creo que es como más moderno, que lo humaniza mucho también el hecho de tener una vida personal, paralela a lo que hace, a toda la crueldad que desata ahí cuando está haciendo su trabajo. Entonces, no soy muy fan yo de verlas. A veces me condicionan un poco, ¿sabes?
Pero sabías que era un
Sí.
titularaco, ¿no? Una novela
Sí.
también legendaria, y no sé si a eso me refería, a cierta presión en plan de, uy, esto es venerado por muchos, es un clásico, aunque yo no lo haya visto, esto es un clásico.
No, yo no sentí mucho esa presión. Siento mucha más presión cuando tengo que interpretar personajes que existen en la vida real. Eso sí que me parece un marrón. Pero lo otro no, me parece más divertido. Pero bueno, supongo que para Eddie también se sintió distinto.
I mean, for me, it was like I had grown up watching the original movie. It was one of my father's favorite films, and so when these scripts arrived in my inbox, my initial instinct was like, no way, like you don't butcher a classic, you don't touch that. But I was curious, so I opened them, and instantly the fact that it was set now, it felt completely different, and I found it so propulsive. I just wanted to keep turning the pages, honestly, and that's how I kind of work, is through instinct like that. And what I loved, as someone who was kind of quite a fan of the original, is that Ronan, our writer, had woven in these elements that were kind of tipping the cap to the original, whilst making something completely new. It had the DNA of that kind of old school analog, like 1970s thriller, but it felt completely modern.
Ahora que hablas de eso, de capturar esa esencia de la vieja escuela, precisamente quería preguntar eso, ¿cómo se captura la magia? Esa atmósfera tan legendaria del clásico, pero a la vez actualizándolo para que resulte, no sé, se sienta como atractivo a la audiencia de ahora, que ha cambiado mucho desde los 70 hasta ahora.
Yo creo que hay como un equilibrio muy interesante. O sea, la estética, creo que han encontrado como el punto justo entre esa cosa que dices tú tan auténtica del Jackal de antes con lo moderno. Creo que también hay como en este nuevo Chacal hay como muchísimo contraste entre la estética, diferentes ciudades, diferentes personajes con diferentes culturas, y creo que también algo que a mí me encanta de la serie, que lo he visto hace poco porque no había visto todo montado, es la música. La música me parece que le da un rollo increíble y que está muy bien escogida.
I agree with all of that I understood of that. But I think the thing, there were many iconic moments in the original film. One was Edward Fox's, the Jackal's love of tailoring and clothes and kind of the peacocking element. Particularly, he has that, in the original movie, he has this necktie. And Natalie Humphreys, our costume designer, was really keen that we should try and find
la ropa también es
ways
verdad, el vestuario.
of weaving those things.
Costume is amazing.
And also the gun, the original gun that he makes from the boot. We try to capture the silhouette of that, but then there are a couple of moments like the watermelon scene.
Iconic.
In the original,
I watched that
it's
one.
iconic. You watched that one.
Yeah.
She saw that on YouTube.
Esa la vi porque me dijeron que era icónica.
And I love that Ronan had put that in, and our director Anthony on that one was like, we're going to do it beat by beat, we're going to do it shot by shot, a replica of that. And so I think it's all updated, but again, it's the DNA. You're trying to hold on to those elements that fans of the original will fall for.
Y centrándonos en el protagonista Eddie, en tu personaje, te quería preguntar cuál ha sido el mayor reto a la hora de encarnar a un personaje tan complejo que tiene esa doble vida sin revelar nada de ella, y también cuáles han sido, más allá del material original, cuáles han sido tus inspiraciones o referencias que has manejado para construir este asesino.
I think to start with the hardest part, like for me, and Ursula and I talked about this, was some of the languages. I don't speak a word of German. and quite a few scenes are in German. And Ursula was telling me how when she started doing English films, she had to kind of learn the words phonetically, and which seems bonkers to me, but that's kind of what I had to do in this with some of the German, and I have like 3 lines of Spanish. I found that very odd, because for me, you're not just trusting in the translator or the language coach, but you're trusting in the tone of their voice, the music of how they say something. Because I was saying, so this German guy would kind of, I think, he'd talk like this and you have to trust not just their translation, but the music of it. As far as inspirations, one thing that was very inspiring to me was there was this interview of David Bowie in the 70s when he's dressed in a suit rather than in one of his big looks, and it was one of the first times that he was just presenting himself as himself, and the way he is in that interview, the stillness, the way he listens was very inspiring, and also the way he talked about using different disguises to kind of hide parts of himself. Yeah.
Esta es una serie con un indudable contexto político, actualizada y reimaginada en un entorno contemporáneo, porque es que aunque no son tiempos, ya no estamos ya en tiempos de la Guerra Fría, ¿no? Pero sí que la serie incluye algunas reflexiones y pinceladas muy interesantes del actual panorama geopolítico, ¿no? Era importante también reflejar eso.
I feel like
I don't have a lot of information. I would love to answer, but
one of the things that I think, like what I hope the show does, is it has is this difference in genres. It has these thrilling elements, it has the action, it has this kind of quite visceral family story that's both romantic and tempestuous. And what appealed to me was that you were jumping between these genres or within one piece. But definitely the political element of it I found intriguing, and great thinkers and writers, that people like Ronan always have their insight and finger on the pulse. And one of the things I find intriguing, it's not at the core of this piece, but is about who is in charge. Is it the politicians? Is it now the sort of tech barons? Like, who is puppeteering who? But also one of the differences that I found intriguing from the original book and series and film is, in the film, there's a very binary sense of good and evil. Like, the Jackal is evil, albeit charismatic, and the Michael Lonsdale character, the detective, is good, and de Gaulle is seen as good. And in our version, my character, there are moments, I hope, when an audience kind of sees him as human and falls for him a bit, but he's also doing horrific things. But similarly, Lashana's character, Bianca, is both, she's the
ruthless.
Compromises, ruthless, the things that she will do. Her morality is on a grey spectrum. All of the characters are, even the UDC figure, he's vouching for transparency, whilst at the same time he's clearly a megalomaniac, and so I think the difference between then and now is that all the characters have even Nuria is lying. There's a level of deception. Well. She's a liar.
She's not a liar.
A liar.
She avoids information.
That response, yeah. That was my response too.